Welcome back. Now, when the economy looks dark, political leaders are always the first to be faulted. French President Nicolas Sarkozy is taking quite a pounding. Sarkozy cast himself as a modernizer, a welcome image when he was first elected. But now as his nation writhes under the economic downturn, can he really adjust the campaign slogan and his established policy to the challenges that France is facing today?
France is in stagnation. On March the 19th, up to 3 million people took to the streets to get things moving. Since the French Revolution in 1789, protests and strikes have been how citizens of the Republic voiced their displeasure. But this year, it's more than a ritual.
This demonstration is about the entire policy of the government. It's about the breakdown of the social fabric and really about the whole concept of society.
The president's stewardship of the economy is under fire. On Tuesday, Sarkozy defended all the measures his government has taken to address the crisis, but didn't lay out new specific initiatives. He said if the situation should get worse, we'll do more. But worse might be too late. According to the National Statistics Agency, the French economy is shrinking at the fastest pace in over 30 years.
Our forecast for economic growth in France for 2009 is minus 1.5%.
Sarkozy has poured billions into bailing out banks and car makers, but he rejected union demands for higher pay and tax hikes for the rich. So many French feel there's little government help for ordinary families. According to a poll in the Paris Match magazine, 78% of French people consider the strike to be justified.
Now, such a large-scale demonstration hasn't been seen in France for more than a decade. It's already the second this year. Organisers are planning a third for Labour Day on May 1st, and that's just a week ahead of Sarkozy's second anniversary in office. Now, over the past 2 years, his popularity has seen big swings. He set the lowest record for any year-old presidency since the launch of the Fifth Republic half a century ago.
The year 2007 in France can easily be called the year of Nicolas Sarkozy. He's young, he's energetic, he dares to talk of a clean break with the past, and he won solid support among French citizens. Since Sarkozy's election as president, the man appears to be everywhere. He runs every aspect of government, turning the Prime Minister's office into a kind of Chief of Staff position. He modernized the look of government, bringing in socialist thinkers, ethnic minorities and more women. Former British Prime Minister Tony Blair once said Sarkozy resembles a force of nature rather than a conventional political leader. Sarkozy brought in some early reforms, including some to universities and special pension regimes for public sector workers. But after these symbolic battles, it all went flat. Most ordinary people lost sight of the direction and shape of the president's agenda. The public mood has slipped from general support for painful reform to anger that their standard of living has been eroded. In last year's local elections, Sarkozy suffered a backlash. His party, the Union for a Popular Movement, lost the traditional strongholds such as Strasbourg and Toulouse. Rising food prices have further exacerbated the purchasing power problem Sarkozy pledged to solve. The global financial crisis has curbed the economic growth he counted on to grease the wheels of reform. And his public image hasn't helped. While voters were struggling with jobs and rising prices, they saw the president was with the rich and beautiful, In early 2008, it was Sarkozy's private life that preoccupied the French media. Publicity surrounded the romance of the president, and it was a departure from the French tradition of keeping presidential private lives private.
Now, the French political commentator Alain Duhamel has claimed that Nicolas Sarkozy and Napoleon Bonaparte share distinct similarities. Now, for a start, they're almost exactly the same height. Both also came from non-French, minor aristocratic backgrounds, and both despised the Parisian elite. Both of them believe that they had a destiny to rebuild France and, above all, to change the way that the French think of themselves.
As French people tried to balance daily income and outgo, the president didn't engage in such mundane routines, but promoted an initiative to return to the heart of NATO's military command.
France, because it is in her interest, because it is her choice. France will occupy her full place in this transatlantic partnership as a free ally, an ally in solidarity, an independent ally, a committed ally.
Sarkozy believes rejoining the military command will allow France to make key planning decisions within the alliance and put French officers in charge of command posts. The proposal survived the vote of confidence in the Parliament. And France's return to NATO's command will be a gift to the alliance, which celebrates its 60th birthday next week.
Well, I think it's very important that France...
But the move has its critics.
I think France has a specificity since General de Gaulle at least, and that we are going to lose this specificity. And I think it is completely unrealistic to consider that we can influence NATO's course even if we are reintegrated into the command.
Half a year after Sarkozy was sworn in, analysts started to talk about the relation between a new phenomenon of Sarkozysm and traditionalism. Sarkozy is from the Gaullist family, but wants to be a different thing. He's been described, and has described himself, as an Atlanticist. Being an Atlanticist, Sarkozy doesn't hide his desire to improve France's ties with the world superpower.
So I would suggest that you should talk to the President of France. He seems to have a good nose for how things play out.
He is the first French president to accept a private invitation to vacation with the US president.
Do we agree on everything now?
And by dispatching more troops to Afghanistan, he won praise across the ocean. To the general voters, success or failure in foreign policy doesn't count much, but home is where their hearts are. Last year, this French plant made 27 million euros in profits, but its parent company in Germany decided to close it. On Wednesday, several hundred workers rallied in the capital, trying to avert the factory's shutdown. Later in the day, their delegation went to meet one of President Sarkozy's advisors. The French government has said the announcement of the site closure was not legal, and Sarkozy had put the question to German Chancellor Angela Merkel. For the French president, it seems that keeping workers' jobs is more important than social reform.
Well, 2 years is surely not nearly long enough to make a comprehensive judgment. Whether Sarkozy's efforts to change France will end in tears or if his ambition to rebuild the country will pay off, it will likely be a big mistake to write him off just yet. Coming up next, a controversial